Alrighty, everyone. Thanks for joining me. This is your host, D Jester. We are going to be looking at Dominion. Dominion, the board game or card game, depending on how you look at it. It is one of the most popular and one of the most well respected board games out there. Dominion originally came out in October of 2008, so this game is now 13 years old. And I actually had it on my table the other day and was talking about it. And I didn't realize that a lot of people out there hadn't even heard of this game. Maybe you're new to board gaming. Maybe you're missed it when it first came out. Maybe you're not really sure what it's all about or whatever. So I thought I would do like a little video tutorial series on Dominion, the board game, how to play, kind of basic strategies, and then if everyone enjoys the series, maybe we'll continue it and try different things with it. So this one here, we're just going to talk about overview of the game, how to play, the basics, how Dominion came to be, and what is Dominion. So the main question: what is Dominion? Dominion is the godfather, the granddaddy, the big boy, the head honcho, however you want to call it, of all deck building games out there. This was the first. This was the original deck building game that came out back in 2008. And ever since then, the deck building mechanic has grown exponentially because of its popularity, because of its ease of use, because of its strategies, because of its ease of play, learning capabilities. A lot of people enjoy deck building games. Many, many games out there are deck building games. Well, this is the original game that came out, Dominion. What you're looking at here, this is what you get if you buy the core set of Dominion. The core box. This is what you get in the core box. Although I will mention, you can see I've got quite a few stacks of the what they call the basic cards. The copper, the gold, the silver, the curses. You can see I got quite a few of those. That's because I have a couple of the expansions that include those, as well as the other cards. So if you buy the base game, you're not going to have as many of these extra basic cards as I have. So just keep that in mind. But everything else you see here on the table is what you would get in just the base game of Dominion. So what is all this stuff you're looking at? Well, let's talk about the general concepts of Dominion and what exactly is a deck building game. Again, we are looking at just the base Dominion right now. We'll talk about expansions. We'll talk about cards. We'll talk about everything as we go. You can see the rule book actually for Dominion is very short. It is only how many pages is this? Rule-wise, it's only like 6 pages long. There are some notes on the different cards in the rule book. Every card that's in the set talks about how and what how the card can be used, and gives you information about the card, and then it gives you recommendations of cards to use that work well together depending on which sets you have, and it tells you obviously the basic overview of what comes in the box and how to set up the game and all that. Blah, blah. We're going to go through all that stuff. For the rules, very short, very simple. Dominion at its core. All right, let's look at Dominion at its core. Dominion, for me, is like chess in that it's a very simple game, but very hard to master. It is a very simple game in its core. The very simple rule that you follow: A, B, C. That's all you have to remember. A, B, C. A, action. B, buy. C, cleanup. That's all you have to remember in this game. So at the start of your turn, you have one action. You can buy one thing, and then you clean everything up. So ABC, that's how simple this game is. It's a very simple game. Once you understand the concepts of what you're doing, it's a very simple game in the score. So there is, before we get into actually talking about board game overview of Dominion, there is, of course, the base game. Then you have a bunch of expansions: Intrigue, Seaside, Alchemy, Prosperity, Cornucopia, Hinterlands, Dark Ages, Guilds, Adventures, Empires, Naculture, Resistance, and Mangeray. So there is a total of 13 expansions that you can purchase for this. Each of these expansions, or I should say most of these expansions, are what they call big box expansions. And they come with a ton of stuff inside the box, a whole bunch of new cards. There are a few of the expansions which are smaller boxes, small box expansions. But most of them include a bunch of different cards to play with and different ways to handle the situation and to play the game. So there is a ton. It's sad. Every time I hear ABC, I think of the Jacksons. ABC, 1, 2, 3. Hey, baseball demos, how you doing? Good to see you, my friend. So, ABC, action, buy, cleanup. That's all you have to do to remember to play Dominion. So, there, like I mentioned, there is a ton of expansions. But why would you might get into Dominion? Why would you think about getting into Dominion? Well, as you saw when we did our little overview here, there is a whole bunch of stuff that comes in the actual box. There is a ton of stuff. There's a ton of stuff that comes in. This is just the core box, okay? So just keep that in mind. This is just the regular core box. If you bought just the base Dominion game, you get all this stuff inside the box. And the game costs about $30 to $35. It's not an expensive game at all. It's not going to break the bank or anything. And so it comes with a bunch of your, what they call base cards. So there's copper, silver, gold, estates, duchy, provinces, and curses. Those are your 7 base cards. Copper, silver, gold, estates, duchies, provinces, and curses. Those 7 cards, you will always play with those 7 cards. So you're going to use those cards every time. That's why you can have, a whole bunch of them, because you're going to be using them quite a bit. You're going to be using those 7 cards. Then what you're going to do is you're going to randomly determine, or you're going to pick out the 10 cards, depending on how you want to do it. You're going to pick out 10 other cards that you're going to play with. And you can see there's quite a variety. And we're gonna look at these. We're gonna get into them here in a little bit, but that's just the core overviews. You're gonna have these 7 cards on the table, and then you're gonna either randomly choose 10 more to play with, or you can use what they call the randomizer cards. So all 26 cards that come in the core set have a randomizer card. The randomizer cards have a blue background as opposed to a tan background for every other card. So you don't include these cards out on the table or anything. These are just to use to randomize your game. So if I was to just randomly shuffle these, and as you can see, we can pick out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Let's try that again. I think I miscounted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So these 10 kingdom cards we're going to play with. Everything else goes back in the box. We don't need it. So we're just going to play with our core 7 cards. Again, copper, silver, gold, estates, duchy, provinces, and curses. We're going to play with these 7, and then we're going to play with these 10 cards. So you might say to yourself, wow, you're playing with 10 cards. There's 26 different cards that come in the base set. all the way over to that. So all these cards, all those cards, and all those cards up at the top. There's 26 different cards that come into your deck. So you're going to randomize 10 of those. You're going to pick those 10, and then you're going to play with those 10 plus your core 7. So you might say to yourself, well, how many different combinations is it? Well, I am glad you asked. I am so glad you asked because I'm going to show you one of the great things about Dominion. And for this, I need to share my screen with you. We're going to go to the combination calculator. And the combination calculator will examine our amount of total objects we have, how many objects we're going to use, and it will give us a base combination of those objects. So, in our sample size, we are going to be playing with 10 kingdom cards every single time. And if you had 10 of those, you can see we have a total combination of 1, and only 1. So obviously, we're going to play with all 10 cards if we had 10 cards. But let's say we change this number to 26. Blammo. You can see what happens. We now have 5,311,735 different combinations. So just in the base game, you have 5.3 million different combinations of all of the cards that come in just the core set. So those 26 cards that come in the core set will give you over 5.3 million different combinations, which means, my friends, that if you were to play 100 games of Dominion every single day of your life, you play 100 games of Dominion, and every game is different, it will take you a total of, wrong one, this one right here. It will take you 1,455 years to complete all of the different combinations that come in just the core set of Dominion. So if you played a total of 100 games of Dominion per day, 100 games, every game is different, it would take you 1,455 years, 3 months, 1 week, 1 day, 16 hours, and 20 minutes to play every single combination that comes in just the core set. Now, if we were to do something like, I don't know, where is my combination calculator? If we were to include the Intrigue pack, let's go back to this. If we were to include all the cards that come in Intrigue, which is one of the base expansion packs that comes in for Dominion, and in fact, Intrigue comes in a lot of sets when you look at Dominion, and you can see that there's a bunch of cards in this set as well, and there is actually 26 more different cards. So we would, if we were to combine our core set of Dominion with our core set of Intrigue, we would have a total of 52 different cards. So let's change that to 52 different cards. And you can see it exponentially goes through the roof. There is now 15,820,024,220 different combinations between that, between just having one base set added into your Dominion set. So if we go to Amazon and we do a search for Dominion, and we go to the board game, you can see that the big box edition of Dominion here, which has the core game and it has the Intrigue in it, is $61.40 plus free Prime shipping to your house, which is going to give you a combination of 15,820 or yeah, 15,820,024,220 different combinations in just this one set. Now, of course, we talked about all the other sets that you can purchase as well. Those being, let me bring it up here for you. So you obviously have the base game, you have Intrigue, you have, you can't see any of this stuff. Damn it, wrong button. Sorry. So, where were we? Yes, so if we go to Amazon and we look for it at Amazon, the big box edition, which includes the base game of Dominion and the Intrigue, costs $61.41 plus free Prime shipping. You can get it by June 9th. If you're smart, you would do this. And you would have over 15,820,024,220 different combinations that you would be able to play with. So if you enjoy games that are going to be different every single time that you play it, Dominion is a definite plus for you, because you will never, ever, ever, ever see the same combination randomly if you get through sets. Now, that's just what, like I said, one of the core sets. There's all kinds of other sets. We have Empires, we have Majoret, Seaside, the Culture. This one is Adventures, Renaissance, Alchemy, Hinterlands, Dark Ages, etc., etc. So there is a total of, like I mentioned in the beginning, 13 different expansions that come in this game. So you have the base game, you have Intrigue, Seaside, Academy, Prosperity, Cornucopia, Hinterlands, base cards, Dark Ages, Guilds, Adventures, Empires, and the Culture, Resistance, and Majoret. And you can see Majoret was actually released last year in 2020. So they're still expanding this game, making it even better and more interesting every day that you can come across. There are a total of 366 different Kingdom cards now available in all the sets if you own all of the game. And in that case, if we go and type into our combination calculator 366, you will see that it goes to NAN, which means it's too big a number for it to even calculate. But to be honest, the answer is 10 point something quintillion different combinations. And what is a quintillion, you might ask? This, my friends, is a quintillion. It is a 1 followed by 18 zeros beyond it. So that is a super lot of combinations. And again, you would, if you had all the expansions and you played with everything, you would have so many different cards, combinations, that you wouldn't know what to possibly do. In fact, like I said, with just the base game and one of the expansions, you would spend the rest of your life and never see the same combinations again. And I love games like that. I really do. So that's kind of broad overview of what you get in the pack and kind of an explanation of where and what is going on. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to play again with those 7 cards: coppers, silvers, golds, estates, duchies, provinces, and curses. And then you're going to choose 10 what they call kingdom cards. You can either choose the 10 you want to play with, you can randomize it, you can have one person pick one and then you pick one. You can basically set up your kingdom however you want. The game plays 2 people, it plays 3 people, it plays 4 people, it plays 5 people, and it plays 6 people. So you can play any combination. You can actually play solo. You're just not playing against anybody, but what you're doing is you're doing different strategies. You're trying to work out different strategies to see how they work. So, in the essence of what is Dominion, it is a card building game, and in this card building game, it is a race. It is basically a race to get the most victory points at the end of the game. You are up against your competitors, and you are trying to figure out the best, easiest, and most advantageous way to earn the most victory points in the game. It's as simple as that. A, B, C. You're going to do actions, you're going to buy things, and then you're going to clean up. And then your opponent's going to do the same thing. But in those actions, and in those buys, and during your turn, there is a lot that you can do. So, what is a deck building game, you might ask? A deck building game is quite simply a game where you start with a certain amount of cards, and what you're going to do is you're going to use these cards to get other cards to make your deck bigger, better, faster, do things that it won't normally do. In Dominion, you're going to start with 10 cards. Both players start with the exact same cards in their base hand. They are 7 silvers and 3 estates. The estates are victory points. Anything with the green border is usually a victory point. Anything with the green border is usually victory points. They stand out, so this way at the end of the game, all you have to do is pull out all your green cards, and you can just count up the amount of points. So in the base game, when we first start, we got 7 coppers and 3 estates, so we have 3 victory points at the end of the game. And that's, of course, we get rid of these. Now, these, as you can see, are the weakest cards that are in the game. These are very bad cards. You can obviously see that if I had 7 coppers or I had 7 silvers, you could see what a difference it would be. So 7 coppers is worth 7. 7 silvers are worth 14. And obviously, even better would be 7 gold, which would be worth 21 points. So you start off in a deck building game usually with the worst to most terrible cards that are in the game. And what you want to do is you want to purchase cards that make your deck better. And at the end of the game, you're going to count up the amount of victory points. Whoever has the most amount of victory points wins the game. So, how do you know when the end of the game is? Well, the end of the game happens one of 2 ways. The first way is the way it normally ends. The way it normally ends. And that is, you can see here, we have victory points for estates. These are, again, not great cards. They're worth 1 victory point. We have duchies, which have 3 victory points. And we have provinces, which are worth 6 victory points. When the province stack is gone, game is over. The game ends. It's done. Just poof, gone. It just stops at that point, and you count up your victory points when the last province is bought. Now, when you're playing with just 2 people, you're going to have a total of 8 provinces in here. 2, 4, 6, 8. If you're playing with 3 or 4 people, you're going to have 12 in here. And if you're playing with 5 or 6 people, I believe you have 14 or 15 provinces. I'd have to look up the rule on how many you put when you have 5 or 6 players. So depending on how many players you have, you're going to have a different amount of estates, duchies, and provinces. You will have 8 in a 2-player game. You have 12 in a 3 or 4-player game. And like I said, I know it's more. I think it's 14 or 15 in a 5 or 6-player game. But the way the game ends is when the person buys the last province. So the object of the game, more than likely, is for you to purchase as many of these big victory point markers as you can. Get your hands on them before somebody else does. Because these are worth 6 as opposed to this, which is only worth 3, and this is only worth 1. You remember, you start with estates, which are only worth 1 victory point. You can't do anything with the green money cards other than they just jam up your deck with nothing. So they're not worth. You can't buy anything with them. You can't do anything with them other than they're worth victory points at the end. Which means if I'm to buy a whole bunch of estates, right, and I shuffle my deck up, right, and I draw a 5 card, you will see. Well, that was a weird situation, but let's try a normal situation where I actually shuffle the deck. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see that in this 5 cards hand, I have 1 money to buy something, and I have 4 cards that don't do anything other than give me victory points. So, what you want to do is 1, 2, 3. Let me put these all back before I mess up everything. What you want to do is you want to start off your deck. You want to start off and start getting better and better and better items for you to add to your deck that allow you to get to the finish line faster and quicker than other people. But it's not who ends the quickest, it's who has the most victory points. So if you're able to buy a lot of the big victory point markers and somebody else, buys the last one, you can still win the game. It's not who buys the last one, it's who has the most at the end of the game. The second way, and this will occasionally happen, but not very often, is if 3 piles ever become depleted. So if somebody buys all the duchies, somebody buys all the mines, and somebody buys all the militias, and the 3rd pile is empty, that will end the game too. It doesn't normally happen, but it can happen. So if you think you have the most victory points, you might try to buy cards that'll finish off a stack so that you can end the game without letting somebody have the last province. So obviously provinces are the biggest and the best for victory points, and obviously gold is the biggest and best to buy things. So what you want to do is you want to make your deck better, and by better I don't mean just adding provinces to your hand, because adding provinces don't do anything until the end of the game. All it does is jam up what you're going to get during your turn with more green cards that don't do anything. So what you want to do is you want to build up a better and better hand as you go. And then at the end of the game, when the game is towards the later game, you're going to try to buy as many victory points as you can to end the game when you think you have an advantage over your opponent. Games last anywhere between 10 to 20 minutes. It's a very quick playing game because you're going to take your turn and you're going to buy a card and you're going to be done. And that's it. That's all you have to do. And you're going to go to your opponent, which is already ready to go. And they're just going to lay down their cards and they're going to go. So a deck building game, again, is you're going to shuffle your 10 main cards. Again, we have 7 copper, which are worth 1 purchase, and 3 estates, which don't do anything other than victory points. So if you could get rid of these 10 cards and get 7 silvers and 3 duchies, you can see right off the bat what a big difference your hand combination is. In this, we have 3 victory points and 7 buying power. In this, we have 9 victory points and we have 14 buying power. So much stronger than this. So you want to get rid of these cards or transform these cards into better, bigger hands. And obviously, if you go, even further down the track, you want to have 7 gold pieces, and you want to have, a bunch of provinces in your hand. You can see the big difference that's going to be. That's 21 buying power and 18 victory points. You can see what a big difference it is. So this is it. You want to get rid of the bad cards, and you want to get good cards. So let's go ahead and give you an example of what we can do. So what we're going to do for this example is we're actually going to set up a game randomly here. And all we do again is look at the blue or purple back cards. And we're going to shuffle these together. We're going to find the 10 cards that we're going to play with. And that is called our kingdom. Of course, we have our 7 cards we always play with. Copper, silver, gold, estates, duchy, provinces, and curses. We always play with these cards, and then we choose 10 at random, or we can just choose 10. I could just say, okay, we're going to play with these 10. Boom, to make my life easier, but for simplicity's sakes, let's do it this way. So, we got these, oops, shuffled pretty good. Got one upside down. Again, there's 26 different kingdom cards that come in this core set. So we're all going to play with less than a third of them. No, I'm sorry, a little bit more than a third of them. Obviously, if we had more sets, you know, we're playing with 10 of, let's say you have all of them, and there's 366 kingdom cards, and you're playing with 10 of them, you're only going to play with 36% of your total amount. Right? Is that right? I think it's right. 36? No, it wouldn't be 36%. 3.6%. 3.6%. Something. Anyways, let's get our 10 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so these will be the 10 cards. Everything else is going back in the box. All right, so that is going to be our combination. So, let me grab these cards out. Festival, Mine, Bureaucrat, Militia, Market. Fortunately, I do have these alphabetized to make things a little bit easier for me. Gardens. Now, notice Gardens, even though it's a kingdom card, it's also green, which means this is going to be a victory point card. We'll talk about that. What else do we have? So, we got 2, 4, 6. We got the Vassal. Where's the Vassal? Vassal. Here's Vassal. Here's Vassal. We got the Merchant here. We have the Century here. And we got the Laboratory. Laboratory over here. All right. So these are our 10 cards we're going to be playing with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now what I'm going to do is just take the rest of these cards and put them away, out of the way, just for our example of how to play. And there we go. Oh, hell no. Hell's bells. I forgot these two. All right, that's fine. I'll just squeeze them in later. All right, so what we're going to do is kind of arrange these a little bit easier for us to get to. All right, so the way you want to set up your 10 Kingdom cards is by purchasing cost. So there's going to be, this is a 5, this is a 5, this is a 3, this is a 3, this is a 4, a 5, a 4, 4, 4, 5, 5. Interesting. Boy, we got a lot of expensive cards and not many cheap cards, actually. And I keep hitting my microphone with my elbow, so you can thank me later for that. Oh, these are the, yes, okay. I was going to say. All right, so we've got the Merchant, the Vassal, the Militia, the Bureaucrat, the Gardens, the Festival, the Laboratory, the Century, the Mines, and the Market. So we're going to look at each of these cards in detail to kind of show you what's going on. So you can see that they range in price from 3 gold pieces, 3 gold pieces, 4 gold pieces, 4, 4, and I shouldn't say gold because it's not gold, it's just 5, 5, 5, 5, and 5. So we range anywhere from 3 to 5 money to buy something. And these are the extra cards. We can put these aside for right now. All right, so on your turn, you get to buy something. Let's move this out of the way. That would be helpful. You get to A, play an action. B, buy something. C, clean everything up. Right? So very simple. Here is part of the strategy of Dominion is your first purchases are going to be the most important because of how your deck is. They're going to be in your deck the longest. Obviously, again, we're starting off with the worst cards in the game, the coppers and the estates. So we want to try to get better cards. So one of the strategies that is employed is called big money. Or basically you can ignore all the kingdom cards, right? And on your turn, you just buy bigger and better money every time it comes up. And while this is a strategy that a lot of new players like to use, is actually a bad strategy in the long run. Because using the actual kingdom cards are usually going to end up being better. But because you always play with these cards, sometimes it's hard to get combinations to work well in your kingdom. But, you know, it's... So first thing we're going to look at is the 10 cards. And this is kind of important in understanding Dominion is you're going to get 5 of your 10 cards. So we shuffle, we draw, and we get cards. You are either going to get 1 or 2 of these combinations. You're either going to get what they call the 5-2 combo or you're going to get the 4-3 combo. And what that means is, depends on where the estates land, you're either going to get 2 of them or you're going to get 3 of them in one of your hands. So you can see we start off with 2 gold, or 2 purchasing. I keep calling it gold because it looks like a gold piece. It's not. Gold is specifically its own thing, so just ignore me when I say gold. But I have 2 purchasing power, which means I know in my next hand, I'm going to have 5 purchasing power, right? You can see I have 5 purchasing power in my other hand, right? The other combination is what they call the 4-3 combination. We shuffle these up again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This time we got the 4-3 combination because I got 3. My next hand is going to have 4, right? Automatically. So you got the 5-2 combo or you got the 4-3 combination. Cards, kingdom cards can range anywhere from 1 all the way up to like 8 purchasing, but these are rare. Most cards are going to be 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. These are most of the cards are going to fall in that range. Unfortunately for us, we have no cards that cost 2. So if we draw a 5-2 combination, we are going to have kind of a dead hand at this point because there is no cards that cost 2 that are worth purchasing. You can buy coppers for free. You can buy a copper anytime you want. It doesn't cost anything. Silver costs 3. A gold costs 6. An estates costs 2. A duchy costs 5. A province costs 8. And you cannot buy a curse, but a curse you will put into your opponent's deck. It is -1 victory point. Plus, it jams up their deck by having bad cards in it. And of course, like we talked about, you don't want to have bad cards. You want to have all the good cards in your deck. So that's the cost for everything. So on a normal 5-2 combination, you might have something like, let me pull out, let's pull out our deck of cards here that we didn't play with. You can see that there is the cellar that costs 2 gold pieces. We didn't get that one in our kingdom. There's the chapel, which costs 2. There is let's see, what else costs 2 in the base game. The moat costs 2 in the base game. So there's a few. We just didn't randomly draw one. So that's just the way it works sometimes. And while I'm at it, let me go ahead and put the smithy back in order. RS. So the smithy comes in here. All right, so now I got them all back in order. All right, so when you're shuffling your base hands, you know that you're either going to get a 5-2 combo or you're going to get a 4-3 combo. So while you're shuffling your hands, what you want to do is you want to look at the cards and see what's out there. I know that I don't see any 2 cards out there, and so when I draw that, I'm going to kind of be a dead hand. Of course, I could buy an estates with that, but we talked about estates being one of the worst cards in the game. So why would you spend money on it? It might be worth it, but I don't think you would ever want to, unless, of course, you're behind by a couple points and towards the end of the game and all the duchies are gone and all you have are estates left. So maybe you want to buy an estates in that case. There might be some weird situations that you might want to buy it, but in the long run, it's a card that's not very good. So what you're hoping for when you shuffle up your cards with this kingdom is a 4-3 combo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we got a 5-2 combo again. Wow. So we know with 2 copper, we can't really buy anything. So we are kind of dead. We're kind of drawing dead at this point. There's nothing to really buy for 2 that's worth anything. The advantage of the 5-2 combo is there's a lot of cards at 3 and a lot of cards at 4, and they're very good. But the cards starting at 5 and 6 are really more powerful. So we won't get a good card to start with, but we'll get a more powerful card at the end. So let's look at some of the cards and kind of show you what we're talking about. So we have the merchant here. So the merchant costs 3, and this is an action. There's an action. Whoa, so we talked about playing an action. So you play this card as an action, and it gives you an extra card, an extra action, and the first time you play a silver this turn, you get +1 money. It's hard to see because of the reflection. So the first time you play a silver this turn, so obviously at the beginning of the game, you're not going to have any silver in your hand. But eventually you'll start buying new silvers, and the first time you play a silver, you'll get +1 money. So this card gives you an extra card, it gives you an extra action, and it gives you extra money if you play a silver card. So, interesting. We have the vassal. It also is an action. You can see right there. If I could focus, that'd be great, Mr. Focus Man. Come on, camera. Do me good. All right, you can see it's +2 money, and discard the top card of your deck. If it's an action card, you may play it. Of course, this is an action. It gives you +2 money. But it also has some text on there. It costs 3. This is a vassal. Right? So discard the top card of your deck. If it's an action card, you may play it. Then we're going to talk about something else that's kind of important. This is an action attack. So in this game, you can actually attack your opponents. So you can see in this case, it is worth +2 money, and each other player discards down to 3 cards in hand. So when you play this, your opponent is going to drop down from 5 cards to 3 cards in his hand. And it is an attack, and an action, and an attack. The reason that's important is because there are cards that will prevent attacks, and so only cards that prevent attacks. Cards that prevent attacks only work against cards that have the attack keyword on there. All right, so that is that. You also have the Bureaucrat, which is another attack action for gain a silver onto your deck. Each other player reveals a victory card from their hand and puts it onto their deck, or reveals a hand with no victory cards. So again, you're going to get a silver onto your deck. Each other player reveals a victory card and puts that on their hand. So you're kind of weakening your opponent because he's going to be drawing cards that are victory point cards as opposed to purchasing cards or attack cards or something like that. So then we have a victory. So this says victory at the bottom. You can see that. It's a green. We talked about this in the beginning, right? This is not an action. You notice it doesn't say action, so you cannot play this as an action. It's just going to jam up your deck and give you victory points at the end, and it's going to be worth 1 victory point per 10 cards you have, rounded down. So if you have, say, 48 cards, well, that's a little excessive. Let's say we have 36 cards at the end of the game. You're going to get three. Each one of the gardens that you buy is worth 3 victory points, which is going to be the same as a duchy. The duchies are worth 3 victory points. All your gardens would be worth 3 victory points. And as I mentioned, one of the 2 ways that the game ends is when 3 decks are empty. So sometimes there are players that might just buy all the gardens and just go victory point garden. And if we had another victory point tally out there in the kingdom, then they might buy these cards as well. And so that's how 3 decks, like I said, normally it doesn't happen very often, but you can have 3 decks. When 3 decks run out, 3 of any decks run out, including curses. So if the curses run out, or the estates, the duchies, and the gardens, let's say these 3, run out, then the game would end. Doesn't normally happen that way. Normally, people are buying the provinces up. Festival. So this is our first 5 card. 5 to purchase. It is an action. It gives you +2 actions, +1 buy, and +2 money. So remember how I said you start with 1 action, you start with 1 buy, and then you have cleanup? Well, this card gives you 2 extra actions. Gives you an extra buy. So you would have 3 actions. Well, playing this card is an action. It would give you 2 more actions. And it would allow you to buy 2 things. And it would give you +2 money. And of course, it's an action. We have the laboratory. This one gives you +2 cards, +1 action. It's worth 5, and it's an action card. Most of these will be action cards. So, the Century. +1 card, +1 action. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Trash and or discard any number of them. Put the rest back on top in any order. So this is an interesting card because we haven't talked about trash yet. But trash, there's a card for trash. Any card that you trash is removed. So obviously we talked about a little bit about this, but these are bad cards. If you could get rid of these bad cards by trashing them, getting rid of them, that would allow you to draw your better cards as the game progresses. So if I, got rid of these 3 cards and I got 3 better cards in, you can see that I have a less chance of drawing the bad cards. So the Century, what it does is you draw a card, you draw an action, then you look at the top 2 cards of your deck, and obviously, if they are trash any of number them, and then put the rest back in any order. So if you draw 2 good cards, you don't have to trash them, but if you draw 2 bad cards, you can. So it helps thin your deck, trashing. We have the Mind. You may trash a treasure from your hand. So again, treasures are the green cards, right? So gain a treasure to your hand costing up to 3 more than it. So interesting enough, estates cost 2. So if I was to play the Mind, I could trash my estates and I could get one that cost up to 3 more. So 2 plus 3 would be 5. And oh, guess what? I could upgrade an estates to a duchy. I could trash this and get a duchy. So I didn't hurt my deck because I'm not adding another card to it. All I'm doing is improving it because I'm getting rid of a worse card for a better card. If I had a duchy in my hand and I played a mind, I could get rid of the duchy and get a card that costs up to 8. And oh, look at a province costs 8. So you can upgrade an estate to a duchy. You can update a duchy to a province. That's what a mind does. So that is a mind. And last but not least, we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10. Yep, is the market. Market costs 5 again. It's an action. +1 card, +1 action, +1 buy, and +1 buck. So it gives you a little bit of everything. So +1 card, +1 action, +1 buy, and +1 money. It is an action. So if you had many different actions in your deck, you had many different buys, extra money, and an extra card. So those are your 10 kingdom cards that we're going to be playing with, and of course our base 6 games, our base 6 cards we're playing with as well. So again, one of the things about Dominion and understanding Dominion now is, now that you kind of understand a little bit more, hopefully, when you shuffle your deck to start the game, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to end up with either a 4-3 combo or you're going to end up with a 5-2. So if I look at this, I know that I got the 4-3 combo. I got the 3 first, and then this hand is going to be 4, right? Boom, there you can see. There's no other way around it. You're always 100% of the time going to end up with a 5-2 or 4-3 combination. So that is, so let's show you the general flow of the game and show you what you can do. So we have 2 players here. We're going to get 2 decks of cards. All right, I'll shuffle this deck up. And I'm going to shuffle this deck up. Again, because we're playing with 2 players, there's going to be 8 estates. There's going to be 8 duchies. There's going to be 8 provinces. And there's going to be 20 curses. So, again, 2 ways to the game ends is when the last province is bought, the game immediately ends. Or if 3 of any stack become depleted, then the game will end. Now, there is 10 cards in each one of these stacks. So there will be 10 cards in every one of these, except for actually the gardens. Now, since the gardens is a victory point 1, since it's a victory card 1, this is going to be a little bit different, but you just start with 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? If you're playing with 3 or 4, you're going to play with 12. So you can see that playing with 3 or 4, you're going to have 12. And with 8, with just 2 players, you're going to play with 8. So I would pull out the extra garden cards. So any of the victory card ones always come with 12 of them. All right, so let's shuffle up player number 1 here. Let's just show you how things go here. So, player number 1. Let's see what you got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I got the 4-3 combo. So I know I should be looking at cards that cost 3 and cards that cost 4. So I could buy, obviously, kingdom cards that cost 3. I know that I'm going to be buying a kingdom card that costs 4, probably. So what I'm going to do with my first 3, okay, so again, A, B, C. Let's go in order. A, action. I can play an action. Well, I have no cards that have action. I have treasure, 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 victory by victory by. So I ignore my action phase since I have no actions. Buy. I then play all my cards that costs or that will give me money. So I will put down 3 copper, and that gives me 3 money to buy. I can buy one thing. You start with one action, which I can't use. I can buy one thing. So I'm going to buy a silver for 3 money down there in the bottom. And then these cards don't do anything. And then A, B, C is cleanup. I am now going to clean up, put that on my discard pile. I will then draw the remaining 5 cards and put them in my hand, which I will do in a second. But let's go to player number 2 and see what player number 2 does. Here's shuffle up his cards one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And he's going to get, what combo is he getting? What combo is he getting? Do you know? Yes, that's right. He's getting the 4-3 combo. He's got his 4, which means this hand over here, we know he's going to get 3. So at 4, what is he going to buy with 4? So again, he could buy anything less than 4. He could buy a silver if you wanted to buy a silver. You could buy a merchant or vassal, but obviously you want to try to buy something that costs as much as you have because it's probably a little bit better. I could buy a victory point card, the Gardens, right? The only problem with that, again, is it doesn't do anything right now other than jam up your deck, and it doesn't give you any purchasing power. It doesn't give you any actions. All it does is give you victory points at the end of the game. So probably don't want to do that. I could do the Bureaucrat, gain a silver into your deck. Every other player reveals a victory card from their hand and puts it into their deck, or reveals a hand with no victory cards. Or I can buy a militia and attack my opponent. These are usually very good, but in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy the Bureaucrat for player number 2 because I want both players to do have like different strategies because it doesn't make any sense. So he's gonna buy the Bureaucrat. Again, actions, he has no actions. He then plays his cards for copper. He will purchase a Bureaucrat. And then clean up, you basically just take all your cards, you put them in your discard pile. And then he's going to draw his next 5 cards, which I just put them sideways so I know these are the next cards coming up since I'm playing solo. All right, so player number 1. Now we know that he had a 4-3 combo because he already had his 3. So he's going to have 4, right? And sure enough. So actions, I have no actions. I will then, so that was my A phase. My B is buy. So I'm going to play 4 copper. And I'm going to buy a militia and clean up. Simply take all my cards, put it in a discard pile. Now, I don't have any cards to draw. So what I need to do is now shuffle up my deck again. Give it a good shuffle. And then I'm going to draw 5 cards. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the rest will just stay down as my deck. All right, player number 2. We know he's got the 4-3 combo. He already played the 4, so now he's going to get the 3. So what he's going to do is he's going to buy silver, obviously, making his deck better to get more silver, get better cards, and then he is going to do the same thing. And you can see how quick this goes once, you know, if you had multiple people playing. Since I got to do all the shuffling and all the everything, it's going to take a little bit longer than normally. All right, so we're now on turn number 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So actions. I have no actions. All right. So now I can purchase. I have 4 to purchase. I have 1 thing I can buy. And I am going to buy. So you might think, oh, well, why don't you buy another militia? Because, well, discarding your opponent's hands down all the time would be super cool. Remember, here's the deal. You can only play 1 action per turn unless you have a card that gives you more actions. Like, say, the festival gives you more actions. Or the laboratory gives you more actions. Right? Etc., etc. So the militia is one of those actions that they call a terminal action. Once you play this card as your action, you're done. You can't play any more actions. This is because it doesn't give you any more actions to play. So this is considered a terminal action card Because if I had 3 of these in my deck, I could only use 1, because remember, you only get 1 action unless you play a card that has more, that gives you more action. So, for example, the Merchant, right? I could play Merchant as an action. It gives me a card and an action. So I would draw a card and I would get another action. I could then play another Merchant. I would draw a card and get another action. I could then play another Merchant. I could draw a card and play another action. And then Militia. So I could do this combination, which works really, really well, because Merchant, unlike Militia, is not a terminal action because it gives you another action. Cards like the Festival help out a great deal because they give you +2 actions. So you could have 2 terminals in your deck plus a Festival, and you could still play that. So if I had a Festival, well, before I get to that, let's say I had a Militia and I had 2 Militias, right? If I had 2 Militias in my hand, I could play one. The other one is a dead card. It doesn't allow me to do anything, right? You can only play 1 action. Neither one of these cards gives me more than 1 action. So these are terminal. This is a terminal draw. Anytime you draw cards that don't give you any action and they die after them. So terminal. So playing this card, right? And then playing this card again, you can't. Unless, of course, you had the Festival. So you can play the Festival first, and it gives you +2 actions. So for my action, I could play Festival. That gives me +2 actions. So I have 2 more actions I can play. Militia, action. I could play the Militia. That is 1 action. I could play the Militia again. That's a 2nd action. So Militia is a terminal card because it doesn't give you any more actions. So obviously, with all that said, is what we'd like to do is try to find something that might get us. We have four money to buy. Let me see. Right. Okay. I pulled this out of this deck. Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. When I'm trying to give my example. All right. So I have 4 purchasing power. So what might work well with the Militia, right? So we can look over things. We can buy a Merchant, which costs 4. We can buy a Vassal. We can buy a Militia. We can buy a Bureaucrat. We can buy a Gardens. Or we can buy a Silver. We can buy a Copper. Everything else is either too expensive. We don't have enough money for it. So those are kind of our limiting choices right now. Obviously, playing a Militia and then playing another Militia, not good. We just talked about that until we get more cards in our hand. There's a lot of 5 cards, so you can see that. So part of the strategy for this setup might be, we actually only have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 cards, 5 of our 10 that cost 3 or 4. So that's half of them cost 3 or 4 bucks. The other half, those last 5, all cost 5 bucks or more. So the player that gets the more money in their deck quicker or faster are going to be able to use those bigger cards at the end. And why is this lavatory? It's on the Century. Okay, I was going to say. So the player that can get more money in their deck, the quicker they're going to be able to buy the better 5 cost cards a little bit quicker than his opponent. Again, Bureaucrat is a terminal action because it doesn't give you any other action. Militia is a terminal action, doesn't give you any more actions. So if I buy a Bureaucrat, it's the same thing as Militia. If those 2 cards come out at the same time, I'm only going to get to play one of them. The other one's a dead card. If I buy a Gardens, right, it's good for victory points at the end of the game, but it's going to slow down the progression of my deck as I try to build towards bigger and better things this early in the game. So what we're going to do is we're going to buy a Merchant for 3. we're going to add that to our hand. And I'm going to tip it up just a little bit and kind of slide that back a little bit. There we go. All right, so I will draw 5. 5. And then that will go there. Player number 2. Let's see what... Oh, he's got... Look at that. Look at that. Look at that hand for player 2. So you can see on turn number 3, we got something going already. So we got 2, 3, 4, 5 purchasing, and we have a bureaucrat. So we can play one action, which we will play the bureaucrat. Now, when you play an action, since this is the first time we've done it, we want to talk about this. This is now in the play area. This is no longer considered in my hand, right? It's no longer considered anywhere other than the play area. This is the play area right here. So this is now out of my hand. It's no longer considered in my hand. It's in the play area. I'm playing my action. My action is gain a silver onto your deck. So I'm going to take a silver. I'm going to place it on top of my deck. It says onto your deck. Normally, cards you purchase go in your discard pile. This one's a little bit different in that gain a silver into your deck. Each other player reveals a victory card from his hand and puts it into their deck. Puts it onto their deck, or reveals a hand with no victory points. So in this case, my opponent is him. He will look, and he's got no victory points, and I can say, oh, okay, look, I got no victory points. See that? No green cards. Boom. All right, so that is my one action for player number 2. I can now purchase. I will purchase 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow. So 5 magic number. We just actually talked about this, right? Because now 5 gives us festivals. It gives us laboratories. It gives us centuries. It gives us mines, and it gives us markets. All these things are going to give us more cards, more actions, more buys. Mind, we can start to upgrade our cards. Sensory, can start to trash some of our cards. Laboratory gives us more cards and more actions. The festival gives us more actions, an extra buy, and some more money. So I think what we're going to buy is we're going to buy... Now, 6 is the magic number, right? When you're going to buy things, 6 is the magic number. The reason 6 is the magic number is 6 is how much it costs for a gold. And you definitely would like to get gold as early in the game as possible. Obviously, having purchasing power of 3 as opposed to 1, much better. 6 is the magic number. He didn't quite make 6, he only made 5. So he's just going to have to make do with 5. But still, 5 is not bad. And we're only on turn number 3. So, and he's got 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So we're going to buy, a festival. A festival, again, gives us +2 actions, an extra buy, and an extra... you know what? No, I'm not going to do that. He's going to buy a laboratory, which is going to give him +2 cards and an extra action. So if his bureaucrat and his laboratory come up in the same time, he can play the laboratory, get an extra action, and the extra action he can use to play the bureaucrat. All right, so that goes in his discard pile. He will then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to have our first attack of the game. So you can see, action. Player number 1 is going to play militia as an action. It's going to be an attack. It's going to give him +2 gold. And each other player discards down to 3 cards. Now, there are cards in the game that will prevent attacks. I will show you an example of a couple of them, if I can find them. So, moat here is a good example of a moat. It says, when other player plays an attack card, you may first reveal this from your hand to be unaffected by it. So if you had a moat in your hand, A player plays an attack action, you can just show your opponent this card, and you can be unaffected by it. So attacks don't always 100% work. But in this case, we don't have a moat. We don't have any way to prevent attacks, so it's going to be painful. So player, he's going to play this as an action. And his action is +2 gold, or +2 money. And each other player discards down to 3 cards. So player number 2 is going to have to discard down to 3 cards. So he will discard these 2 cards. Obviously, why would he discard these 2 cards as opposed to discarding these 2 cards? Well, these 2 cards do absolutely nothing until the very end of the game. And they're worth victory points. So they don't do anything. They're just jamming up your deck anyway. So he will discard these 2 cards, which is not a big deal. And then player 1 played his action. Now he'll play for purchase. So he gets +2 money from the militia. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So player 1 has got a very powerful hand. Very powerful hand. This early in the game is 7. So 2 numbers we talked about so far to always keep in mind. Gold costs 6, right? And provinces cost 8. So those are always 2 numbers you would try to get to. 6 and 8. 6 will give you a gold. 8 will give you a province. He's got 7. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, he can only purchase 1 card because he doesn't have anything like the festival, which gives him +1 buy. So, or the marketplace. The marketplace gives you a card, an action, and a buy, and a money. But this early in the game, 7, of course I'm wasting 1 purchasing power, but a gold costs 6. To get a gold this early in the game is huge, and you'll see what a difference this makes next time he has to randomly draw. So he will then 1, 2, and who knows, he might be able to get that gold right off the bat. That would be huge advantage. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we're not going to look. We're just set that down. All right, player 1, or I'm sorry, player 2. We know he's only got 3 cards in hand because of the attack, but he does have a pretty good hand. He can play an action, 1 action. He doesn't have it, so he's going to play 2, 3, 4. So 4 is not bad with 3 cards. 4 will get you a silver. Silver again costs 3, so you're kind of wasting a point. So the question is, do you want to buy anything at the 4 value? We got the militia and we got the bureaucrat. We already talked about these 2 cards being terminal unless you have some way to get extra actions. Now, I know player 2 has bought a laboratory, which give him extra cards and an extra action, but you don't want to start having collisions with your cards where you can't actually play them because then they're dead cards. So all right, player number 2, because he's got the bureaucrat, which gains him his silver, he's going to have lots of silver probably in his deck. So a merchant works well with the silver because the first time you play a silver this turn, you get +1 money. So it turns a silver into a gold. So he's going to buy a merchant for 3 for his turn. And then he will draw 1, 2, 3. And then he must shuffle his deck. Three, 4, 5. All right. Player number 1. What has he got? Oh, wow. He's got 3 dead cards. He's got a silver and he's got a merchant. So the merchant gives him +1 card, +1 action, and the first time you play a silver this turn, gain +1. So he's going to play his action is the merchant, which is going to give him +1 card and +1 action. I could play another action, but I don't have another action, so I am not going to do anything. I can't obviously play another action because I don't have any. So now I'm going to buy. I get, the first time you play a silver this turn, get +1. So we get 2, +1 is 3 money, +1 is 4 money, and 3 estates, which don't do anything. So 4 money. 4 again is not the number you want to be with this setup. I mean, normally you're going to have a couple 2s, a couple 3s, a couple 4s, and just a couple 5s. In this case, we got like half of our cards are 5s, which means you want to get to that 5-point value as quickly as you can. So he is just going to buy a silver with his 4. It doesn't make the 6, so you can't buy that, unfortunately. But he did have a really good hand before this, so not every hand is going to be super, super great. All right, player number 2, what does he got? Well, actions, none. No actions. So he's got 4 purchasing. Again, bad numbers. He's going to buy another silver for 3 and be done. It's usually never not a bad idea to buy silver and gold if you don't know, because the last thing you want to do is buy kingdom cards that draw dead or terminal, or you can't play them, or they don't do anything for you. So it's never a bad idea just to buy silver and gold if you're not sure what to buy. But let's see what player. Oh, look at this. So here we go. Actions, no actions. Obviously, we don't have any actions. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep. You could buy any cards, or you can buy a gold. So if the question is any one of these cards that cost 5, are there any one of those cards good enough that would want him to buy them instead of a gold? And normally, I think normal situations, until you start getting a couple gold in your hand, you don't want to keep buying action after action after action. You want to get your resources up first. 1, 2, 3. Once you get your resources up, which player 1 has done a great job of doing that, so he can start now buying actions, getting in combos, getting things that work in his deck, and those cards will start to just make things more and more better and more powerful. And you can see this is only our 5th turn, and you can see what a difference player 1's deck is compared to how it first started and how it is now. So player 2, he's got a nice hand as well. So merchant, +1 card, +1 action. This is not a terminal card because it gives us more actions. And first time you play a silver, turns it into a gold because it's worth +1. So play this action and draw a card. Look at what we have. We have the laboratory. So now, because we have the extra action from the merchant, we spend our 1 action on her. She gives us +1 action. So now we can play the laboratory. Laboratory gives us +1 action, +2 cards. Whoa, 1, 2. And because the laboratory gives us +1 action, we can play the bureaucrat. Gain a silver onto your deck. Every other player reveals a victory point card from their hand and puts it in on top of their deck. He does not have any. But you can see how his actions and card play went. Merchant, +1 card, +1 action. First time he plays silver. So he was able to draw a card, which was the laboratory, which gave him +2 cards, +1 action. which allowed him to play the bureaucrat. So this combo, merchant to laboratory to bureaucrat, worked really, really well. Not only that, but it gave him 1, 2, 3 more cards in his hand, and you can see he ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards total for his hand, and he got to play 3 actions. He still only has 1 buy because he didn't get any cards that gives him an extra buy, but he's got 2 because of the silver, but because of the merchant gives him +1. So this is actually 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wow, 8. Of course, we talked about this. 8 is the magic number to get to province, right? But the question is it too early to jam up this in our deck? Because it doesn't do anything other than gives us victory points at the end of the game, which is important because that's the way you win. But this early in the game, this card will keep coming out and out every time. Every time we go through the deck, this card will come out and won't give us anything. Is it worth spending the 8 now on this as opposed to buying something that'll give us something a little bit better? For 8, because he's got the merchant, he's going to get a lot of silvers because of the bureaucrat and the merchant. I'm wondering if maybe buying a mine might work for him, because you may trash a treasure from your hand and gain a treasure that costs him 3 more. So every silver he could trash into a gold. Every copper he could trash into a silver. Of course, this is a terminal action because it doesn't give us any more actions. So, but fortunately for us, we do have the merchant, we do have the laboratory. So I'm going to buy a mine for our 5. And even though I had 8, I'm going to buy a mine. And then I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3. That was a great combo he had too. So that was super good. 1, 2, 3. 4, 5. All right, that was a good combo, especially this early in the game. All right, militia +2, and each other player discards down to 3 cards. So in this case, that's just fine because he's going to get rid of these estates, and no harm, no foul. He gets +2 money. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, you buy another gold, which I said is never a bad thing. The question is there something that could be better with the way his deck is set up? Yep. He is going to buy this Century. So the Century again gives you +1 card. Gives you a card. Gives you an action. And you look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Trash or discard any number of them. And then put the rest back on top in any order. So he's going to do that. And draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's already got a couple gold. So he's not going to be starving for money. He's got a couple gold. So player number 1. He's going to play a mine. You may trash a treasure from your hand. There, we got it already. We got it right off the bat. You may trash a treasure card from your hand, gain a treasure of your hand to your hand, costing 3 more than it. So we can go from copper to silver, or we can go from silver to gold. Well, we're going to trash a copper. We're going to take that and put it in the trash. And then we're going to get a silver in our hand. So the more silver, more better. We got 4 and 2 cards. And unfortunately, we're going to get another merchant. We're going to go silver merchant all the way up to the end game, because the merchant basically makes every one of our silvers a gold because it's worth an extra 1. So you can see how there's different combinations that you can build. And player number 1, what do you got? Oh, we got to draw 5 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Player number 1, what do you got? Action, no actions. So we're going to skip that phase. We go to the buy. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 to buy. 7 to buy. 7 to buy. He's got you know what? He's going to buy gold. He's going to buy another gold. He's going to go gold heavy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's going to go gold heavy. Well, we're going to see. We're going to see. So player number 2. We got. All right. So we got some combos here coming up again. We got the Merchant Laboratory combo again. So Merchant, +1 card, +1 action. First time you play a silver, get +1. So get to draw a card. Nice. Then we're going to play Laboratory. Gives us +2 cards, another action. So 1, 2. So we have another action. Unfortunately, we can't use it, but we are done. So first time you play a silver, get +1. So we got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 again. He's going to buy a gold. He's going to buy a gold. He needs a little bit bigger, stronger hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Player number 1. All right, Merchant for our action. Gives us a card. And another action, but we have no more actions to play. Buying 3, 4, 5 +1 because of the Merchant makes that 6, and 1 is 7. Wah, 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 wah. 7 is 1 short of where we need to be. He's going to buy a festival. He's going to buy a festival. Festival gives us +2 actions, an extra buy in case we need one, and +2 money. And then he will shuffle up because he needs to draw and he doesn't have any cards left. You can see how thick his deck is getting now, how many cards he's got in it. So if there's a way for him to get rid of some of these crappy cards, it might be better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Player number 2. Bureaucrat. Gain a silver onto your deck. Gain a silver onto your deck. Each other player. Oh, he doesn't have it there, so he's got to discard a victory points on top of his deck. So the reason he might want to do that is because maybe he's got to draw cards, and all he's going to do is end up drawing that back in his hand instead of drawing a good card. Yep. So that's done. No more actions. So I have 2, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to buy a gold. I have 1. Two, 3, 4, 5. All right, back to player number 1. What do you got? So he's got the Militia. So each player discards down to 3 cards. Oh, so this one's going to hurt this time. Because I can only discard this, and I'm going to lose a copper. He gets +2. So 2, 4, 5. Fiver. He's going to buy another festival, which gives him +2 actions, +1 buy, +2 money. All right, player number 2, who's only got 3 cards in his hand because of the attack. 2, 3, 4. 4 is a bad number again, but he's going to buy another Merchant for 3. And be done. 5. All right, he's got the festival, so unfortunately it gives him actions, an extra buy, and some extra money, but no draw, so he only gets what's in his hand. So that's 2 money, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but he has 2 buys, so you always get 1 buy. He's got +1 buy here, so that's 2 buys. So you can buy 2 things with $7. So you can buy something for 3 and something for 4, or something for 3 and something for 3. Or you could just buy something that costs 6. Or you could buy something that costs 7. It gives him options. It gives him options. Okay. He is just going to buy a gold for 6 and be done. 5. All right, player number 2. What is he going to do? Whoa, he's going to drop his cards is what he's going to do. All right, he's got the laboratory for his action. Gets +2 cards, +1 action, so another 2 cards. And he gets another action. Fortunately for him, he's got another action, which is a merchant, which gives him +1 card, +1 action. So he gets to draw another card and gives him another action. That action is going to be a mine. So you can see how you can start getting good combinations. So he played the laboratory, gives him +2 cards, another action. Who then drew the merchant, gives him +1 card, +1 action. The first time you play a silver this turn, he gave +1. Because he got another action from the merchant, he can then play the mine. You may trash a treasure from your hand. Gain a treasure up to your hand that costing up to 3 or more than it. So good combo going on there because player 2 has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 cards. And he gets to trash a card. So he's going to trash a copper. And he's going to get a silver. Coppers cost 0. Silvers cost 3, so that is 3 more. And now we will get, so player 2 has actually got rid of 2 bad cards to strengthen his deck all the way around, right? All right, he's got, first time you play a silver, get +2. So he's got 3, 4, 5, 6, because of the merchant, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 purchasing power. And he's going to start buying provinces. He thinks, so yep, they're going to muck up your deck, but the way to win is get provinces. So he's got enough. He's going to buy it. He's just going to start jumping on the province bandwagon. Which now will signal to everyone on the table, okay, it's time to start buying provinces before they're all gone. All right, so player 1 gets to play an action. +1 card, +1 action. So +1 card, +1 action. Look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Trash or discard any number of them. Put the rest back on top in any order. So player number 1 will trash in estates. We talked about estates being terrible, and then he will put these back in any order. So kind of making his deck a little bit better. He got an extra card and another action, but he has no more actions to play, but he does have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Guess what that means? That's going to be another province. It's going to be the mad dash now. Everyone has got 2, 3. Everyone's got enough juice going in their deck that they can start buying provinces, and it's going to come down to whoever can grab the most, the quickest is going to win. That's usually how Dominion plays. You build up until somebody makes a jump on a province. As soon as that happens, everyone is at their wit's end to try and figure out a way to get the most out of their victory points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, player number 2. Merchant. +1 card, +1 action. No more actions. First time I play a silver, I get +1, so that's 2. +1 is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Guess what that is? That's another province. So, boom, 2 gone now. 3 gone. 1, 2, 3. Like I said, these games do not last very long. Oops. 10, 15 minutes, and you're done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, player number 1. All right, so this is going to be interesting. So it makes a difference because he's got both the Century and the Merchant. So both of them are going to do different things for you, but they are both going to give you an extra action, which means you could play the Century, then the Merchant, or you can play the Merchant, then the Century. So here comes strategy time. The Merchant, you're going to look at the top 2 decks of your deck, trash and or discard any number of them, and then put the rest back on top in any order. She will allow you to draw a card and an action. He will also allow you to draw a card and action. So if you play the Century first, you're going to look at the 2 cards of your deck, you're going to trash any number of them, and then you're going to put the rest down face up in any order. Then you can play the Merchant, which will allow you to draw that card, because she gives you +1 card, and then give you another action. First time you play a silver. Alright, so I think for my first action, I'm going to play the Century. So, Century, first of all, is +1 card, +1 action. So I draw a card. Now the next thing is look at the top 2 cards of your deck. So these are our top 2 cards. I'm going to trash any number of them. These are both trashable cards, actually. So he's going to trash both of them. So it didn't quite work out because we're not going to know what the top card of the deck is. But we did help ourselves by getting rid of some of these crappy cards. And then we'll play the Merchant, which gives us +1 card, +1 action. So we're going to draw this card. Oh, didn't matter. All that, and we end up with 3, 4, 5, 6, which is another gold, and we will be done. He's got quite a bit of gold, so he should probably think about buying cards that gives him +1 buy. We shall see. All right, Bureaucrat. Gain a silver over there. Each other player will put a victory party card on top of their deck. He does not have any, so we don't have to do that. And that'll be it. And we got 3, 4, 5, 6 purchasing. Well, 6 is a gold, so let's just buy another gold. We're going to need the money. 5. We're going to need the money here. So we'll see. All right, so we're going to play the festival, which gives him +2 actions. +1 buy, +2 money. His next action will be a militia, which will make him discard down to 3 cards. Oh, that's really going to hurt. I got Merchant, Merchant, Mine, which would be a great combo. Merchant, Merchant, Mine, Copper, Silver. If I discard those 2, ugh. I'm going to need something for the Mine. You know what? We're going to get rid of the Mine and the Copper. We're going to keep these 2 together and discard down. Whoa, that attack was brutal. Brutal attack. So, +2 actions, +1 buy, +2 money for the festival. Merchant, or military. Militia, that's what I meant to say. +2 money. Each other player discards down to 3 cards. He doesn't have any more actions, but he's got 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to purchase. He's going to buy a province. Province hungry right now. So, let's see what player 1 can do with his Merchant, draw a card. Merchant, draw a card. Merchant, draw a card. And then first time you play a silver this turn, +1, +2, +3. So that's going to be 2, +1, 2, 3 is 5, 6, 7, 8. That is a province. Wham! 2, 3, 4, 5. It's coming down the nitty gritty now. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's a province. That was simple. 2. It's going to be coming down to the wire. Who's going to grab the last province or two? And that's going to determine the winner. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Player 2. Oof. Laboratory. 2 cards and an action. 1, 2. No more actions. So he's got just simply 3, 4, 5, 6. And a bunch of... He's actually going to buy a duchy for 3 victory points, because those 3 victory points might come in handy towards the end of the game. We're basically at end game now. Festival. 2 more actions. An extra buy and 2 money. So we got 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, but he's got 2 buys. So what he's actually going to do, he's going to be sneaky here. He's going to grab 2 of these gardens for 4 each. He's got 2 buys because of the festival. 2 buys. He's going to grab 2 gardens. Each one is worth 1 victory point for every 10 cards you have. So it can be worth 2, 3, 4, 5 victory points at the end. They only cost 4. They're the same amount as getting a province, but the province is only worth 6. These 2 cards can be worth up to maybe 8 at the end of the game. Who knows? We're going to try it because I want to try different strategies for you guys. I don't want both players to play the exact same thing. Oh, this is a very easy hand. We got a province. 2, 4, 6, 8. Boom. There's only 1 province left. Again, 2 ways to end the game is 3 card decks go empty. There's no chance of that happening. Or the province's deck empty. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Player 1 probably won't get, or player 2 won't get to go again, but we'll see. Will player 1 end it right here is the question. Probably not, actually. He'll play a festival, get 2 actions, a buy, an extra buy, and 2 money. And he'll play the militia, make you discard down to 3 cards. So he's got 2 money, 4 money, 5, 6, 7, 8. So he could end it right here, right now. So the question is, does player 1 think he's got enough money to win the game? Because it'll be over as soon as he buys his last card. He's got 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He could buy it, end the game. If he doesn't think he can do it, then he should buy either duchies or more gardens or something. But I think he's going to be at least equal, if not slightly more. So he is going to buy the last province, and that will end the game immediately. Even though player 1 started the game, player 2 will not get to go. So let's count up how many cards he really has in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. He's only at 25. So each of his gardens is only worth 2, unfortunately. But these might be enough. We shall see. So we're going to get out all of our green cards, because these are the only cards that really matter at this point. Because he got rid of some of his things, he wanted to make sure. So he has a total of 6, 12, 18, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 points. 29 points for player number 1. These 2 gardens, I think, are going to win it for him. Let's see what player number 2. Player number 2. He has... That's it. Let's see what he's got. Player number 2 has got 6, 12, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. Damn. 6, 12, 18, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. 29. Because he ended up getting rid of a couple of his estates to make his hands stronger. He got rid of those 2 estates. And he didn't buy enough cards to make the gardens worth it. 6, 12, 18, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. 6, 12, 18, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So it's 29 for player 1, 30 for player number 2. Wow, that was a close one, and that is exciting. I thought player 1 was going to pull it out there with the gardens. He didn't have as many. He didn't have as many. He didn't have as many cards in his hand as I thought he was going to. So that's kind of threw things for a loop. So that is the general gist. Again, just the base game, you're going to have 5,300,000 different kind of combinations to play. And you can see that just this one combination, how it turned out for people. And of course, every game, even if you play with the same cards, is going to be different. Because sometimes maybe won't buy centuries, you'll buy laboratories instead. Or you might buy silver mines. You might buy more mines to upgrade your cards. Maybe you'll do more with silvers. Maybe you'll buy, instead of a laboratory, maybe you'll buy the marketplace instead, and that's going to change things. So replayability through the roof, obviously. And, setup is a pretty gosh darn quick because we're already done setting everything back up, ready to go if we want to play another game of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. Boom. See that? That's your setup. So what you could do is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. Okay. Wanted to make sure we had 8, 8, 8, and 20 curses. You could just say, you know what? Let's take bureaucrat out and sensory out, and let's get rid of festival. And we would just randomly draw from our deck 3 more replacements, just to change up the game slightly. I'm just showing you what you could do. You could get all new 10 ones. You could play the same game again, just to kind of take like a best of 3 to see which player could win, 2 of 3 of the same setup. You can do whatever you want. It's your game, basically. But, if we were to choose 3 more, we could put in the council room. The council room, the other 2 are already in the game. The chapel, and that's a 2-coster. And wow, nope, that guy's in the game too. The market's already in the game. Garden's already in the game. The moneylender, we could put the moneylender in. The chapel in. And what was the other one? Huh? Where's the third one? I don't know. What happened to it? The artisan. There we go. So we got the moneylender, the chapel, and the artisan. We'll take out the festival the Century and the Bureaucrat, and we get a completely different game, but just by just changing up a couple combinations. Or like I said, it might be fun to play through the same encounter several times to see if somebody can get win two best of 3 with the same setup, which would be kind of interesting. So that's a general look at Dominion, just the core game, and just to kind of give you an overview look of how long it takes you. It doesn't take you very long. 26 different kingdom cards. We already looked at how many different combinations that includes. That's more than you'll ever probably play in your entire lifetime. But you start throwing in other expansions. This is the Intrigue expansion. You get all new. You got 26 more new guys. The Baron, the Lurker, the Upgrade, the Pawn, the Nobles, the Minions, Shantytown, the Bridge, the Secret Passage, the Steward, the Diplomat, the Courier, the Conspirator, Replace, Trading Post, Torture, Harlem, Mining Village, Masquerade, the Mill, the Courtyard, the Wishing Well, the Patrol, the Ironworks, the Dukes, and the Swindler. These are all in one of the expansions called Intrigue. For those of you wondering the cards that we haven't played with so far, we had Centuries. We hadn't seen the Throne Room. When you play an action from your hand, you get to play it twice. Oh, super cool. So when you play this, you can then play another action from your hand twice. The Library. Draw until you have 7 cards in your hand, skipping any action cards you choose. And set these cards aside, discarding them afterwards. So you're going to draw up to 7 cards in your hand. The Poacher gives you +1 card, +1 action, +1 money. Discard a card per empty supply pile. So we talked about when piles go empty. If there was, say, 2 empty piles, you could discard a card per empty supply pile. The Seller gives you +1 action and discard any number of cards, then draw that many. So you discard a bunch of crappy cards and try to draw much better cards. Again, only 2 costs, too. The Workshop. Gain a card costing up to 4. So you just gain a card costing up to 4. It only costs you 3. It is a terminal card. Notice it doesn't give you any extra buys. I'm sorry, any extra actions. So it is a terminal card. But if you can get this card to work with the Laboratory or the Festival or the Merchant or something, that would be great. A Remodel. Trash a card from your hand. Gain a card costing up to 2 more than it. So you can trash a card that you don't think is working very good in your deck and get something that's worth more than 2. You can't trash silver to upgrade to gold because silver is 3, gold is 6, so that's a difference of 3. This card only lets you get 2. So this is more for all of your kingdom cards. You got the Bandit, gain a gold. You just flat out gain a gold card. And each other player reveals the top 2 cards of their deck and trashes a revealed treasure other than copper and discard the rest. So your Bandit's going to kill your opponent's gold and silver cards. Oh, he's so nasty. Plus, your opponent's gaining a gold and you're losing a gold. You can see this guy, not my favorite. Smithy, +3 cards. It is terminal. Just keep that in mind. But, again, you can get this guy to work with other cards. +3 cards. Boom. The Witch. You gain 2 cards and each other player gains a curse. So you can start jamming their deck up with minus victory point cards. And these curses jam up their deck with, 5 cards. You only get 5 cards. One of them is going to be a bad card. So she's nasty too. The Harbinger. Gain a card, gain an action, look through your discard pile. You may put a card from it onto your deck. So you find one of your good cards, put it on top, boom. Plus it gives you an extra card and an extra action. Moat, we kind of looked at this earlier. It gives you extra cards, but it also prevents players from attacking you. So when they witch you or bandit you, you can prevent that from happening. The village, +1 card, +2 actions. So it gives you a card and 2 actions, not 1. So this card gives you the ability to play at least lots of different actions in your deck. In fact, there's a whole strategy called the village decks, where you basically build decks that do nothing than draw your complete hand, all your cards. You just have a massive amount of cards on your table because you're getting lots of actions and lots of cards. The Artisan, gain a card from your hand costing up to 5. So, nice card. Put a card from your hand onto your deck. The Chapel, trash up to 4 cards from your hand. This only costs 2, by the way. You can trash up to 4 cards. So eventually when you start getting silvers and golds in your hand, you can start trashing all those silvers and all those estates. Get rid of them. Chapel. Moneylender. When you trash a copper from your hand for +3. So trash this, get rid of it out of your hand, and you get +3, which is the same as a gold. Gardens, we played with this card. It's worth 1 victory point for every 10 cards you have rounded down. So 30 cards or more worth 3, 40 cards or more worth 4. So get on Gardens. You want to just buy the whole stack if you can yourself. And then you'll have lots of cards in your hand. Plus, they'll be all worth a lot of money. Market, plus a card, plus an action, plus a buy, plus a money. So it gives you 1 of everything. Card, action, buy, and money. The Vassal, we played with this card, nobody bought it. +2 money, and discard the top card of your deck. If it's an action card, you can play it. So play free action cards. The Bureau Cat, we played with this card. Gain a silver on your deck. Each other player reveals a victory card from their hand or puts it into their discard pile, or reveals the hand with no victory cards. The Mine, upgrading your treasures. Festival, +2 buy, +1 or +2 actions, +1 buy, +2 money. The Merchant, +1 card, +1 action, and turn a silver basically into gold because you get the money of silver +1, which is a gold. Council Room, +4 cards, +1 buy. Each other player draws a card, so it allows your opponent to draw a card, but you get 4 cards and an extra buy. Do we play with this card? We did not play with this card. Laboratory, +2 cards, +1 action. And finally, the Militia, you saw that card in action as well. This card can be pretty nasty towards mid-game. Not too great in the beginning. But in mid-game, when you're trying to get these great combos going and your opponent has you discard down to just 3 cards, it can really, really hurt you. Because you no longer have all those cards to work together. So that is, I think the all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 cards that come with the base game. And they have the blue backs. They're the randomizers. And that is a look at Dominion. So let me know what you guys think of Dominion. If you've got it, if you played it, if you enjoyed it, if you would like some more information about it, you want to see more words about it, you want to talk about it, you want to analyze each card in depth, find out which cards work well, which cards are not as good, any of the hidden facts about them or secrets that you can use. Certain cards work well together. Anyways, that's it for now. We'll talk to you all later. Thanks everyone for coming by, watching, and leave a question, comment, suggestion, and we'll see you all next time. Till then, take care, guys.